Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Ingram Jones, the Bayloric TV boxing channel, and we're live. And we're going to be talking about Keith, one-time Thurman, and his latest outing against Collazo. Now, let's get straight into this. I stated in my preview to this fight, my concerns about Keith Thurman and the concerns that continue to seep in to the Keith Thurman gravy train. Now, you know. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Ingram Jones, the Bayloric TV boxing channel, and we're live. And we're going to be talking about. There. Yep. So we're talking about the Keith Thurman gravy train. So I'll start again. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. We are now talking about the fight between Collazo and Keith Thurman. So, well, I don't know where to begin with this, but I'll start like this. Keith Thurman tonight is very lucky, very fortunate, because now before people start saying I'm hating on Keith Thurman, you've got to know me a little better than that. Been following Keith Thurman's career since the Carlos Quintana fights. When I first saw Keith Thurman, that was brought to my attention, and followed him ever since. So this is before Keith Thurman became the worldwide superstar that he is today, or people like to consider him as. And I've said it to him on numerous occasions that I think he leaves his chin out to dry. He's not as bad as he used to be. He seems to keep his hands up more. But, his commitments now as a top fighter, not only just to commit to, before it was just get out there and fight, promote yourself a bit, get out there and fight. Now Keith Thurman's got to promote himself, do interviews with people that he probably would have done interviews beforehand, TV slots, the lot. So he's a lot more pressure on him as a fighter, as a PBC fighter. And I remember a conversation I had with George Foreman III, who said he felt Keith Thurman's career, or what Keith Thurman is doing now, should be done 2 years from now. George Foreman said they're rushing Keith Thurman's career, and when he said it, I thought, interesting. I remember when George Foreman said about Lennox Lewis after the Phil Jackson fight. George Foreman turned around and said, Lennox Lewis needs help. He says he's not the complete article. He needs help. That's what George Foreman said the fight before. The fight after, we all know Lennox got knocked out by Alvin McCall. Keith one-time Thurman, what can I tell you? In my assessment, listen, Keith, I love you. Love you to bits. I think you are an exciting fighter. You are what boxing needs. But tonight, for me personally, my personal opinion, since the shoulder injury, I don't think Keith Thurman has been the same fighter. Personal opinion. I don't think he's got any better as a fighter. I think he has stayed as a fighter. I don't think he's improved as a fighter. I think the levels got better, but I don't think he's improved as a fighter. And what we've got as a situation here is that Keith Thurman now has been calling out all the welterweights in the world, saying he wants to be in the big fights, and that's fine. And chaos for life and blah, 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 which adds extra pressure on you. And it's fight number 3 now, which he hasn't had a knockout in. Okay, he has, the Guerrero fight, the Bundu fight, and now this fight. Now, in all those fights, tonight, once again, Keith Thurman came out swinging bombs from left to right, and fight fans find that great. But I'm not one of these fight fans that will love up their fighter to a point where I can't see the shortcomings. And it's not like I didn't see the shortcomings. I'm seeing them more now than ever. And there's people on Twitter like, Oh, I've never seen Thurman being hurt like that before. It's because they're new to being Keith Thurman fans. Keith Thurman's been dropped a few times in his career, been rocked a few times in his career. So it's new people who are new fans to Thurman, um, not people that have followed his career for a long extent of time that are seeing these things about Thurman. But I'll tell you something. My first concern is that once again, I've said Keith Thurman has no form of defense. This is not defense. And circling around the ring is getting away from punches, but it's not form of defense. It seems that when somebody gets on his chest, if someone gets on Thurman's chest and gets him against the ropes, doesn't quite know what to do. You know, and he starts moving around the ring from side to side, which is trying to get himself out of trouble. You see, when he's loading up these big shots, he does. He puts everything in the shots. That's where the shoulder injury must have been caused, because he's torn something previously, and that's where he's had strain throwing punches like that and putting everything into him shots. Now, when you put yourself in, you throw shots like that, as he does, you leave yourself open. It's only a matter of time somebody watches you and says, "All right, so when you throw that shot, I'm going to slip under and throw a shot." When you start moving up in class, you start moving up against better guys who can take your best shot and then throw back at you. And we saw in, was it fifth round or sixth round, where Thurman got hurt with a body shot by Collazo. And to me, that's a concerning sign, because I mean himself, well, you know, you got through it, but it goes back to what George Foreman said. George Foreman said, everyone said he's the baddest man on the planet. You know, you need to manage your fighter. So Keith Thurman's in a situation now where people can expect him to fight the best fighters all the time. And after this Collazo fight, there's only some of these more gimme fights he can take. And if he's getting rocked and hurt by Collazo, you know, there are other guys out there that hit a lot harder than Collazo. And you know, we know Kell Brook works very well to the body. He's got a very wicked body shot. You know, I just feel that this minute in time with Thurman is that he's in a position now where it would have been better for him now. He needs help. Him and his camp need help. I'm being funny, but he's doing the same things over and over again now. And he's now, when you're getting at the higher levels of boxing, you can't afford to be making the same mistakes. You know, he's not paying attention to leaving his body. He's leaving his body exposed. When he's backed up against the ropes now, he doesn't quite know what he's doing on the ropes. He's still leaving his chin up in the air. And there are good things Thurman does do, but the power Thurman has is another concern. Is it the injury, what happened to the shoulder, and he's lost some power and he's not throwing as much power, or following through his shots because of the injury and he's scared he may tear again? Or B, is it that he's not as big a puncher as everyone's saying that he is? Because if he's not a bigger puncher as everyone's saying he is, Luis Collazo to me seemed fine. He seemed okay. He took his shots and kept coming forward. He didn't hit Collazo with a shot, and Collazo like, I don't want any of this. Collazo kept moving forward and inching closer and closer. So we hear that Collazo at the end of the fight has blood going into his eye and he couldn't see anything. But then I say to myself, okay, Collazo, coming to the end of your career, there's only so much more you can do with Luis Collazo. With Keith Thurman, Golden Boy, what they call him, cash cow. Got a long career in the sport. You've got to ask yourself the question there: when Collazo landed that body shot, and Keith looked like he's struggling there. Was something said beforehand? Look, if this fight gets to the point where you look like you might be beating this guy, you know what? Time for you to so you can get other paydays down the road. I don't know. I'm not saying that Collazo quit his stall, but what I'm saying is Collazo was in a very good position, and Collazo's not a big puncher, and if you made Keith double over like that, it makes you wonder two things: or three things. A, is he tight at the weight? B, how is conditioning? and see at the end of the day, is he um, the application that he put into training for this particular fight, was he able to dedicate himself the same way as he would in normal fights, because of the added pressure of all the other media attention he's getting? And trust me, it's not going to get any easier. You know, if you're struggling to give people, do interviews with people, you know, and having to get publicists in, it starts to make you wonder, you know, whether he is in a position now, Keith Thurman, that he's got more demands on him than he can handle. So let me see who's in the room quickly. I don't want to do too much. I actually want to go and see McGregor and Mendez. Dom Collazo. I would like to see Thurman versus Brook. I think more people. Good evening, Samuel. I think more people would definitely want to see Thurman versus Brook now, simply because of what they saw tonight. Collazo, for me, had the world in his hands there. He had the opportunity to really put himself among the cat amongst pigeons and actually make a name for himself again. Before, you know, he says that he couldn't see out of his eye and all the rest of it, but I don't know if it was that. I can tell you one thing now: Keith Thurman got away tonight. I'll tell you, he got away tonight. And then he's talking about KOs for life, and you know, he'll fight anybody in the world. Listen, you can talk all you want, and I love Keith Thurman bad. I love him. He love the guy. Got lots of respect for the brother. Yeah, he'll fight anybody in the world, but this sport is not about fighting anybody in the world. It's about management. And for me, his team need help. He needs to shorten his punches and stop winging these big shots in, and just, you know, wild shots, be more accurate with shots, time shots, put combinations together nicely and getting out, you know, and working on when he's up close on the ropes. What are you gonna, if the guy's got you up on the ropes, got close, are you gonna tie up, or are you gonna throw uppercuts, or are you gonna work inside? What are you gonna do? It just seems that when you back up against the ropes, you don't quite know what you want to do, whether you're going to fight on the inside or hold a man. So those are my concerns there as well. So, you know, I don't want to do too more of this, but Keith Thurman could be the #1 guy in the welterweight division, depending on how they manage him now, depending on how they manage him and whether he can make the adjustments to be a guy that's going to hang around a long time. Because the way he's fighting at the moment, I can't see him being around long. I can't see him being around 10 years from now. Is the way he's fighting and the way he's winging them punches in, because he's going to always be having shoulder injuries with that part of his body, for one. And two, it's only a matter of time before somebody counters him. You know, he's throwing punches like he as if he doesn't think there's anything coming back. And when you count and you wing yourself and commit like that, there's a time you saw, even when Thurman was winging himself in shots in, he was looking so wild, he was getting caught inside the head. Things like that I see and I watch, and you know, if you're a fanboy, then you won't see those things. You'll just, those things won't matter. You won't see those things. You'll say, "Oh, well, Thurman won and he beat Collazo." And I can't say that. I say this guy needs help. Dan Birmingham, he's a good trainer. He may have done Ronald Winky right. He may have done Jeff Lacey, but at the elite level, I'm not sure that what Thurman's doing is going to last. He might do well at the lower levels where he can blast people out, but clearly he's showing now that he can't blast certain people out now. And as I said, it's either the injury to the shoulder or his punch power hasn't met its level. And these people talk about Thurman moving up. I mean, he didn't drop Collazo, did he? Or did he drop Collazo? Did I miss that bit? But you know, so there's some issues there. As far as I'm concerned, there's more issues and more questions to be answered. So yeah, he goes, I get what you're saying about Collazo not being a big puncher, but that was a perfectly placed liver shot. Yeah, that shot, yeah, it hurts, but Thurman had no business throwing punches like that. Thurman looked super awkward and nervous tonight. Yeah, he did. But I also say that Thurman, more pressure, fighting at home. You know, he's the main event. The pressures of the media to sell the fight, pressures that he probably has never dealt with in his whole career, in his whole life. He's had to deal with the more interviews, having to have a publicist in, all sorts of things going through his mind. So, you know, you can take this fight as a gimme for him and say, you know what, now I know what it's like. Did he prepare as well as he would for any other fight? Do you expect Collazo was going to get blown out? Is he, you know, is Thurman beginning to believe his own hype? These are all things we need to consider. But anyway, that's enough from me. Let me know what you guys think. I'm gonna try and catch this McGregor fight with Mendes because, you know, at the end of the day, I'm not an MMA guy, but everywhere I look is this damn McGregor geezer. So I want to know what he's about. I want to know if he's the man. Or I don't know anything about him, so I'm gonna check out McGregor. But those are my thoughts on Keith Thurman. Congratulations, Keith, on another interesting win. I still subscribe to what George Foreman III said. I do believe that maybe you could be the best welterweight in the world. You could be, but timing. And I'm not so sure if um, you coming out now. The best way to describe for me Keith Thurman is ripe. He's you can see he could be a dominant force in the division, but you just feel that he needs to make some technical adjustments before he steps up to the next level. Those are my thoughts. Don't forget to rate, subscribe, leave your comments. Thanks for your support. I'm off to watch an MMA fight. Take care.